Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
Raven Johnson may have just set back women's basketball a good century. Let's get into this. I want to talk about this because this is the type of stuff that I think does no favors to the women's game, doesn't help them at all. It actually turns off regular fans and regular potential fans. And I am speaking as someone who has been a lifelong supporter of women's sports. 3 older sisters I coached women's sports, multiple teams for 12, 14 years. I supported the women's national team to the point of going to team practices, being part of their supporters club, meeting players, and just on and on and on. If there's one person you can say is actually a supporter of women's sports, it is me. And I only point that out there because I know I'll get the people when I say certain things. Oh, you hate women. Oh, you hate it. No, man. But I'm gonna tell you the truth and be like, when someone like me wants to support less, maybe it's time to change the things you are doing and saying. Now, we got Raven Johnson. We know she said some ridiculous stuff about Caitlin Clark the other day, but now she made some comments about the women's game and the men's game, and I have some thoughts.
Really? If you could tell people about women's basketball, what would you want to say?
I feel like we put our blood, sweat, and tears just like the men put their blood, sweat, and tears into their sport. I think people are respecting us how they should respect us. If you ask me, I think women's basketball is more skilled than men's basketball. I think so.
Really?
I think so.
That's not a bad take. Elaborate a little more. Tell me why you think that.
Okay, for example, if you watch the NBA, I feel like it's a one-man show. But for women's basketball, you're watching people compete, or you're watching 5-on-5, like you're watching skilled basketball. So I think that's why, women's basketball is a little better than men's basketball, but that's my opinion.
That's an interesting opinion. The women are more skilled than the men because they play a team game. Okay, team versus maybe there's more one-on-one in NBA because they have the skill to play 1v1 basketball, which the women don't have. But you're talking about style, Raven Johnson, not skill. And again, as a supporter of women's sports, I have less interest in supporting women's sports. I have very little interest now in watching you play the game of basketball. It's wild to hear you talk about the women having more skill when you're incapable of hitting a shot from more than 5 feet away from the basket. But to be fair, most women struggle to hit a shot within 5 feet of the basket. In a league where everyone, even the casuals, know women struggle to make layups, the idea that you are more skilled than the men is insane on the face of it, and you are simply not helping grow the game. Stop this nonsense. Get back to reality. I know you've been fed a lot of crap growing up, but women and men are not equal physically. They are not equal athletically. The women are not as skilled as the men. That doesn't mean it can't be entertaining. That doesn't mean we can't support it. That doesn't mean we can't enjoy it. But I'm not going to sit here and accept absolute nonsense from people like Raven Johnson. What I'm going to do is be like, maybe I'll go find something else to do with my time, and maybe I'll tune into something that a sport where it's appreciated that I'm tuning in and watching, because this isn't it. We see this over and over and over again, more and more now. This is not the way to get more fans. I'm not even dragging this video out. I just had to rant a little bit about this. Absolutely absurd. Do me a favor, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. I really do appreciate it. Back to heading to 15,000. Goal is to be there before the season starts. Smash the like button, subscribe. Let me know your comments. Let me know in the comments below. Big question is, when you hear stuff like this, and we hear so much of it, right? We had the Asia Wilson thing, last season, where she was like, she can beat an NBA player. Again, the women's national team soccer, whom I love, right? I've supported them forever. Like I've said, I've actually gotten the chance to go to their practices and be on the field. They have lost multiple times in blowouts to 14-year-old boys. Australian national team, when they were, a top 5 team in the world, it happened to them as well. It happens all the time because it's simply different. Now there are those who admit that. Carly Lloyd, one of the greatest women's players of all time, she has come out and she has no problem with it. Others do, like say Megan Rapinoe, but Carly, she said, yeah, they're bigger, they're faster, they're stronger, but it is a great experience. They should beat us, but it is a great experience for us to play that level of competition where we're tuning up and getting ready for, say, a World Cup or another big tournament. It helps us to get better. FYI, why is it, do you think, so many of these women's team bring in men to scrimmage against? Is it because the women are already more skilled than the men? Now, they're probably actually not even bringing men who are more skilled, but again, just because of the physical advantages, they bring in men to train against. It's like MMA. You're going to have, you're going to bring in sparring partners that may be better at certain aspects, at least, of fighting than you, right? Maybe your weakness is, defending against the takedown. So you're going to bring in sparring partners who are better at takedowns than you are, right? That is why the women, like the soccer team, they will go play these U15 boys teams. That is why, women's basketball teams bring in men to train and practice against. It is not complicated, but we're in this weird time in the world where we have to sit here and pretend things that simply aren't true, that they are true, and celebrate them and congratulate people like Raven for her delusional take on women's basketball versus men's basketball. Because again, if you want to talk strictly skill, if you had a skills competition, the men would win. That I'm not hating on the women. It's just different. And I'm pointing out that fact, which is something Raven Johnson is having trouble doing. Am I being too hard on Raven Johnson? I mean, look, it's obvious this is something that she grew up with, right? That's what we do now. There's a lot of propaganda with our children growing up in terms of what they can accomplish and what they can't. And she's hearing this from everywhere in her bubble, that women just as good as men, women can do everything men. And let me back up, by the way. Women are just as good as men, but it's in different things, folks, right? They're complementary. They're equal under the law, and they're equal in terms of being complementary to each other and what they bring to a society. That is so, so important. But this idea that we have to sit here and pretend that they're equal physically, it's absurd. I'll give you a great example. And I'm going to finish with this. I said this is going to be short, and then I went off on a tangent, a related tangent. Is that really a tangent? But let's look at one of the simplest, straightforward athletic events, the 100 meter, right? Fastest man in the world, fastest woman in the world. Now, it's been a while since I've looked. When I say a while, I mean months. But just from actual registered times, right? So actual competitions where time is being kept. So official race times. It's something like you have to go down like 8,000 sprinters before you get to the women's world record. Do I have to say more than that, right? And sprinting, one of the biggest indicators of sprinting, but vertical, you're vertical, which is like the number one indicator of athleticism, right? You're vertical. Again, do I have to continue? Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Smash the like button, subscribe. Really do appreciate it. Shout out to the 19. Go of the day you deserve. I will talk to you later.